Hello everyone, I'm Annie Gibbins and you're listening to Memoirs of Successful Women, the podcast where you get to hear candid conversations with fascinating women from around the globe who share aspects of their business and life journey, how they measure their success and what they have learnt along the way. Hello and welcome everybody to Memoirs of Successful Women. Today I have the delight of introducing you to Debbie Debonaire, who is a global emotional resilience consultant and holistic counsellor who has transformed her life. She has become a beacon of light to help other people who are suffering in adversity, fear, severe lack of self-confidence and self-esteem. She knows this as a truth because she had 3 failed suicide attempts and has overcome extreme clinical depression and prolonged mental domestic abuse. She knows what it's like to take back control and transform one's life. And her story is one of extreme courage and focus and has resulted in a complete transformation that has seen her now rise to become a highly esteemed expert on contemporary emotional and trauma recovery. Debbie is a one lady who just brings solutions. She's inspirational. She helps people take charge through her innovative process called the Heart Act approach to guide career women from negative life patterns to triumphant transformations and empowerment. So she's all about taking back control. And welcome to the program, Debbie. So, where do we even start with your amazing life? First of all, I think we need to celebrate the woman you are today, right? Tell me about why you are just permanently beaming these days. What does it feel like to be so well and healthy for a start?
It is a place that I, years ago never thought I would see myself in, and every single day I give thanks to just being here. Thanks to, being able to get out of bed, being alive, being able to walk into every room in my house, to be able to breathe, to be able to fresh air. I go out every day and just give thanks to everything that's in needs, because all those years ago I didn't have that. I did have it, but I wasn't in a place where I felt I did have it. So now I am so grateful for every single day that I'm given to be able to say, look, here I am, and so can you be, so that I can just show other women who may be in that dark, dismal spiral of a rabbit hole, to just say to them, get out. You do not have to be in there, and it took me a long time. I won't lie. It took me a long time, and it was so worth it. And when you're in it, you don't realize how worth it is until you can be on the other side and show others that they have a right to be on this earth and not be controlled by another person, another thing, their environment, an event, whatever is going on. It doesn't control them. And it's about taking back that control so that they can be in control of the life that they so deserve and that they so desire. And that's why I have this smile on all of the time.
I love it. You are certainly a woman who is just beaming with life, and it's a bit like that. Like when I met you, it's like, yes, I'm so happy to be alive. Like it's a great insight because of what you've been through. Just an incredible gratitude, an incredible appreciation of who you are, your right to be here, your right to be yourself. and what you have to give back to those that you now help along their journey. It's like you're just bursting, and I just love that. And I think it's a good reminder for all of us who just take life for granted, right? You just, you always think you're going to have another day, but when you have been in that deep well as you were, and not just one attempt, you've had 3 attempts. So it must have just been such an incredible place of pain for a very long time. Yeah,
it was, and when I survived each one, especially the first 2, I was so angry, so angry on why was I not allowed to go? Because the main thing that was made me go was because I was led to believe, and I would do anything on the earth to allow him to have the life he deserved. So I got so angry each time. And then after the 3rd one, I had what I call my apple, was when I realised, and I was no longer angry, because I realised that the reason I was saved was because I had a purpose on the earth, and I do every single day live in the purpose that I was saved for. And that was to show other women that life is worth living.
Incredible.
And that's what I do every day.
And how many years ago was how many years post this terrible phase of your life are you now?
I am actually, from that kind of oh shit moment and working my way through, it took me 6 years to come out of the other side. Yeah. So it was really probably, I would say, between 2012 and 2016 when I was really kind of coming out of it properly, because there was still things going on for me in that time frame. I ended up in hospital having to have a hip replacement in 2015. So it wasn't until kind of I got over that in 2016 that I thought, come on, girl, you know what you're supposed to be doing. Get a grip.
Yeah.
And get started on this new journey that you've been given. So even though I'd kind of started the journey prior to my hip replacement, because part of my journey was that for myself and nobody else, I went not back to university. I went to university and got a first class honours degree when I was 47.
Incredible.
And that was in 2010.
Yeah.
And then in 2012, I completed the Inca Trail, a 12-day trek of the Inca Trail for a children's disability charity. So getting through that and then through the operation, I'd still been doing things to get the ball rolling onto the journey that I now am part of, because I'd kind of come out of the worst and I was doing things for me, but the things I was doing for me was helping others, which is what I'm all about. I'm very, very heart-led. Everything I do comes from the heart, hence why business is called Heart Act.
Yes.
That's what I very much come from the heart, and I express that to my clients and how my mind is, but also the messages of our mind in order for have the resilience, and hence why I'm an emotional resilience coach, because I realized a lot of what I came through, I was quite a resilient person, but didn't see it, didn't really understand it until people were saying, "Oh my God, Debbie, you are so resilient," and I went, "Am I?" Really? I didn't realize I was, because I had never connected the two. And when I connected the two, I decided, right, this is where I need to, put my energy into showing others how they can build on their own resilience and how they can self-regulate better, how they can have alignment, peace and calm in all of the areas of their lives, because they are all interlocked. And we have probably one priority needs the attention of our energy to then get the other areas of our lives in more alignment. Because what I'm finding, I speak to people and they'll say, oh, my life's not right. I'm stressed, I'm anxious, I'm at the end of my life. I can't go on anymore. And when we actually sit down and say, right, what is the priority? What is the one thing in all those areas of your life that you want to focus on?
Yeah.
And we start with that one priority, because it's that one priority that's stopping all of the rest. And it's not until you go into that priority that you realize it's having an effect on all of the others. Because a lot of what I did was I played the blame game, I played the victimhood game. I lived in victimhood, and I didn't used to talk about this, but I lived in victimhood from the age of 8 years old. And I have people saying, but Debbie, how can you say you lived in victimhood mode? And I said, because I did, because I allowed a bully to my life from the age of 8 to 16, all through my school years, apart from the went to different schools, and then she came back to the same school. But I allowed that to happen even at the age of 8. And people say, but Debbie, you can't say you allowed at the age of 8, you didn't know. And I said, yeah, but I could have said no. I could have said, no, you're not taking control of me. I could have stood up for myself, but I didn't. I went into, I'm the little vulnerable weak soul stood here, and you can do what the hell you like to me. And basically that's what I did. Don't get me wrong. When I was 8 years old, I didn't think like that. It's not until you reflect back and realize what you did allow to happen to your life. And that happened all through my life. I lived in victimhood right up until I was 40 plus, until I had that oh shit moment and thought, do you want to know something? Girl, you've had this oh shit moment for a reason. And that's when I started to reflect back, realize how I'd lived my life, and said, actually, no more victimhood. And it's one of the biggest things that engulf people, both men and women, until they're guided and empowered to realize that they're in control of their own life. We change that life script at any time we like. If it's not working for us, rewrite it. Some of the great masters who have written plays and film scripts and musical scripts, good grief, piles of screwed up paper on the floor.
Yeah.
Until they got it right. And you know what? We continuously write our script because we are ever evolving. And I'm still evolving, because things are still coming in my life that I decide whether or not I want them in my life. And we are all also our own director of our life. We can go stage left, we can go stage right, we can go upstage and downstage, we can fall off the end of the stage and get back up again. Because it's up to us which direction we stay in. Whether we carry on down that negative direction or whether we say, no, I've actually gone the wrong way. Let's turn around and take another route and start another journey. Doesn't matter how many times you start again. Exactly. As long as each time you're starting again, going towards where you want to be. The greatest of people out there, failed so many times, the likes of Walt Disney, and look what kind of empire he's got.
Yes.
I know he's no longer with us, but his empire's still there, and he failed so many times. And it's not about the failure. It's about what you learn from it. And it's about getting back up, learn from it, and move in a direction towards where you truly want to be. And, the characters we allow in our lives as well, they can either make or break us. And for many years, my characters broke me. so that now I'm very selective in the characters in my life, because they, you know, I want to serve them, but at the same time, they have to be serving me in a positive way, because, you know, every day when people ask me about, you know, where I was before, you know, what stops you from going down there again? And I say nothing, and no one on this whole planet can ever take me there, because I am in control of my own life. And that's what I work with people to do, to take back that control.
Oh, and that feeling when you go, I actually do believe it. I do believe that I have 100% control of my life, that I'm choosing, I'm making those choices as to, that's right, who I allow into my life, who I allow to influence me, what I accept of them. That, yes, you know, you are a total heart warrior, but you also are very sensitive, you know, and you need to be surrounded by people who, while you are giving out, are also going to be supporting you and feeling, you know, filling you up as well. You said before in your story that you were bullied from
and you know,
8 to 16. And you said that was a choice. Many people would look back and go, but, you know, children don't know it's a choice. What you know, what could you have done? Maybe not at 8, but at what age do you think you could have made a different decision to stand up to a bully?
To be honest, looking back, I probably could have done it when I was 8.
Okay.
But because I didn't do it when it first began, it became harder because I didn't do it there and then when I was 8 years old. And okay, not necessarily stand up to her, but go to the people who potentially could have dissolved the situation the minute it started. I didn't, because I was scared. Fear took over me, you know, and that fear controlled me, you know, to be there and allow her to take everything away, you know. Hid behind so many masks for so long. You know, I love acting, and I loved acting way back when I was 8 years old.
Yeah.
But while I was going through the victimhood, I hid behind the masks of the characters I played. Yes, it was a choice, and yes, when I was 8 years old, I could have made a different choice. But I would probably say a greater decision and more strength possibly would have been when I went into high school.
Yeah.
When I could have chosen friends who could have supported me better in the bullying.
Yeah.
Where I'm not saying, you know, children of 10, 11, 12 would have been able to support me in that way. But I may have had a bigger support network where she would have found it more difficult to come into my space.
I think it's a really interesting point that often those listening to this podcast will imagine those sort of situations that you think, because I didn't tell someone straight away, I'm now stuck in this situation. Whereas that's the crazy thing. You can actually at any time in a journey, you don't have to go, oh, well, I should have said something at 8, so now I'm stuck for the next, 10 years or something, because of the damage that it does. And also, that's right, well, maybe you should have, whether you did, you didn't, you can always have that moment and go, okay, enough. I should have done this before, and reach out. So I think that's an incredible learning. I think it's interesting too then so that victim mindset, do you think that was was it just from the bullying, or do you think you had something from your early childhood that sort of allowed you to accept that quite easily?
Oh yeah. I mean, when I was 8 years, when I was quite young, and in fact, it may have been even around the same age as 8 years old. My my childhood wasn't brilliant, okay, but you know, there are worse childhoods to have than the one I had.
Yeah.
However, I was often had conversations that at the time I didn't really quite understand, but as I got older, became more hurtful. You know, things like you're fat, you'll never amount to much, you were a mistake, you were a hole in a condom. And when you start to understand what it means by being a hole in a condom, you realise that actually I don't belong in this family. And because of everything else that was going on, the overthinking became quite huge. And that overthinking developed into, I suppose in some respects, paranoia. You know, that I was trying to fit into this family that I'd convinced myself I didn't belong in, you know, so I've often kept myself to myself. You often found me with my head in a book because I just took myself off to some fancy land that was in this book. I became a character in the book that, you know, was 9 times out of 10 either the hero or the lost cause. You know, I was never anything in between. And I felt like that a lot in my life, that I was forever battling to gain acceptance in the family. I mean, I have a fabulous relationship with my mum, and I always have had, but it was clouded by what was being said to me, you know, and what I grew up with.
Yes.
And then from that, you know, I left my home when I was 19, after getting married. I got married when I was 19. And I got married possibly for the wrong reasons. And that was because I needed to escape where I was. But I actually jumped out of the frying pan into the fire. And was told very similar things, you know, get down off your pedestal, who the hell do you think you are, you'll never amount to much, etc, etc, etc. However, I do have a first class honours degree. Didn't amount to much.
Well done to you. That's right. That's right. You know, and I tell you what, those comments, although incredibly painful at the time, that when you then go and whatever stage of your life, you then go and prove them wrong, isn't it just the best feeling? It's deep down, like, I do, absolutely. I will amount to something, you know, not that the degree is for everybody, but I tell you what, when you do it, it is absolutely fantastic. So
no, not at all.
Yeah. Did you know straight away then when you married the, you know, wrong person for the wrong reasons, you think, oh, okay, the next step will be great. He'll love me and the world will be wonderful and I'll be the you know, the popular character. Did you know straight away, and did that then repeat that cycle of, oh, okay, I should have got out early and then I stayed?
I think what happened was I was blinkered to it because at first I was blinkered to it because I wanted it to work.
Yeah.
I wanted it to change the pattern.
Yes.
I wanted it to be that, you know, I'd made the right decision and this was going to be the rest of my life.
Yes.
You know, and it was going to be a wonderful life. And it turned out not to be. And I mean, don't get me wrong, without it, I wouldn't have the best person in my life today.
Yes.
Without it, you know, I have, and I know I'm very biased, but I have the most gorgeous young man as my son, and I would not swap him for the world.
Yeah.
You know, and I know I'm biased, and we all, as mums, we all say that. But with that, you know, without the marriage, I wouldn't have him.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, a lot of the marriage was happy, enjoyable, but was always overshadowed.
Yeah.
By the little remarks.
Exactly. It's just invisible. It's invisible pain, isn't it? That so many people hide behind, you know, you'll see them out in the street and they'll be smiley and happy, you know, everything's good and there's just so much happening underneath. And and it's so important to be able to share it. And I'm very thankful that you can. What when you say there's all these niggly things, but then suddenly, how do those niggly things add up to a suicide attempt? Is it that you then have massive events, or is it just that you
Yeah.
then get to wake up on a day and go, enough?
It was the day in, day out of being downtrodden. Or
Mm,
that's how I felt and that's how I perceived it.
mm,
And there's only so much, downtroddenness, if there is
yes.
such a word, that one human being can take,
Mm,
and it just got to a point where, especially when you're told that your son would be better off without you,
mm,
you then start saying to yourself and looking for those reasons.
yes.
And sometimes you find them and they're not actually there. You've
Mm,
created them and they're not actually there, and this is kind of the journey the spiraling I went on, the spiral journey that I went on, because I know now, reflecting back, I was creating things to make what the others were saying, you kind of, it was like a knife in your heart, another punch to the stomach. I don't mean that physically, I just mean that, metaphorically.
yeah, of course.
And I just got to points where I thought, this is just ridiculous. I
Mm,
cannot do this anymore. I cannot do this to my son anymore.
mm,
And I mean, I actually now walk along the canal that I suicided,
mm,
because I view it very differently. See it for its beauty, because
mm,
it held such damaging emotions.
mm.
Now I stand on the bridge, I look over the bridge and see the beauty that
Right.
I didn't see back then. Now I know that is really powerful,
Mm,
but it means such an awful lot to me that
mm,
I have been able to change my perspective of a place.
mm,
That place that was the demon,
mm,
that place the demon alone, you know, for me, it was an accumulation, a constant accumulation, a traumatic event that sends them down that path.
yeah.
And it's not like a build up,
Mm,
or it can be a traumatic event that then transpires into accumulation of things. So it's very different
mm,
for everyone,
yeah.
and there'll be people out there who have gone through what I've gone through and not even gone down that road.
Mm,
And,
yeah.
that is fabulous, that they were able to do that,
Mm,
and I congratulate them that, they were able to do that. But I know it takes courage,
mm,
a lot of courage, to actually go down the road of wanting to do that deed,
mhm,
and a lot of people talk about it being selfish,
mm,
and they're not thinking about the people that they leave behind.
mm.
However, that was the one thing I was thinking about.
Yes.
I was thinking about my little boy that I was leaving behind, because he was going to have a fabulous life without me.
Mm,
So it wasn't selfish in my case. It was selfless. And in many people's cases, it's selfless.
yes.
However, it is not the way, because every single person has a purpose on this earth and has a right to this earth. And it's just getting those who find themselves in a desperate situation to reach out to someone, anyone, just say, please, please, I need you to move me away from where I need help and I don't know where to go, because that was the one thing I didn't do.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost like you wish you could just put up a red flag and just go, yes, I don't even have the words. I don't know what to say, but I definitely need help. And Wow, I think what you've shared with me is incredible, because a lot of people do that. What a selfish thing to do. Whereas that's it. When you're in so much pain and you've got such a distorted perspective on the reality, that's it. What you've shown clearly is that when you're in such a down space, you get confirmation bias, because you then start looking for all the proof of what others are saying to you. And we can get confirmation of anything, really, if we start looking in that way.
Yeah.
So incredible. And so then you actually go, yeah, well, that's right, I believe them now. And you know, and my child would be better without me, which is obviously outrageous. You know, no child
Oh,
of a
absolutely.
parent who followed
Yeah.
through with that successfully would say that. And it's just so tragic that that happens. So let's turn it into a positive though now. So obviously that was a long journey, and there were 3 attempts then, and we don't need to go through the details of that. What I do want to look at is when you actually got to that time and you had that moment of, you know, enough. I am born on this planet for a reason. I do have value.
Yeah.
I do want to live a happy, healthy life. I love my son to bits. He's the best boy in the world. I want to, you know, be my best self and give back to others. And then suddenly you're like going, oh my gosh, like the world literally opened for you, didn't it? Like, not just to be able to
Oh,
do
it did.
an honours degree, but in every single way. What did the world suddenly look like to you, and how did it feel?
The world suddenly looked like the stage that I'd always wanted to step out onto.
Mm,
That's the only way I can describe it, because people who know me,
mm,
my passion for the theatre, okay, and know what it means to me to be able to step out and be me,
yes.
be my own leading lady the way I wanted to be.
Mm,
And so that's what the world looked like to me. It just looks beautiful, even on a dark, dreary, rainy day. It doesn't spoil the world for me,
mm,
because the world has its own characters to bring in and its own little scenes to play for us.
mm.
You know, in with how nature, you know, brings herself to us. You know, that the world is so open, and for me, I can just now step out and have the confidence and the courage to say, "Thank you, world. This is me." And I love every inch of you and what you've brought for me and what I'm bringing to you. And that's how the world opened to me.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, you know, struggled a few times, probably more times than I wanted to.
Sure.
But, and it's, you know, when I understood how strong vulnerability was,
Mm,
changed my life again.
mm,
Because I never shared my story. I was so ashamed of my story, so
mm,
ashamed.
mm.
Even when I, you know, when I came out the other side and I was, you know, and I was beginning on the journey to live the life that I wanted to live, I was still ashamed of my story, of what I had put people through, what I had put my little boy through. And then it wasn't until I was talking to someone and they said, "Oh, Debbie, your vulnerability will be so powerful for other women
Yes.
to just see what you've achieved. Share your vulnerability. It is so strong." And that's when I started to share my story,
Mm,
because, you know, we are all vulnerable at
yes.
some stage in our lives. Okay. Not necessarily to a huge degree like my story is, but we all have a story to tell,
Yes.
you know, and, you know, being vulnerable is not a weakness. And crying, and this is a huge passion of mine, crying is not a weakness.
Mm,
And I stress this all the time with you know, with clients that I have who I'm speaking to, and they start to cry and they try and pull it all together. And I say, no, you have to
out.
let those tears out.
Yes.
Let them out, because they say, but no, you know, it's weak. It's you know, it's not what we're supposed to be. And I said, yes, it is. You allow those tears to flow for as long as they need to flow, because they are the glue that hold you together. Stopping your tears isn't holding you together, because inside you are falling apart bit by bit.
Yeah.
When you hold the tears in, you are doing so much damage to your insides by holding in those tears that letting them go is not a weakness. Letting them go is one of the biggest strengths you can ever have. And let them flow. Let them flow, and let people see that you are offloading all this pent up emotion, that you can free yourself, so that you can give yourself space in your heart and give yourself space in your mind to reevaluate and self-regulate where you want to be. Sorry, I'm really passionate about people crying.
I love it. And I tell you what, I love a big cry myself.
Yeah.
Because you just feel, I know it's a crazy thing, is because it actually makes you, once you release to it, it feels so good. Like, who doesn't?
Oh, absolutely. To me,
eyes and all that sort of stuff, you actually feel such relief, and you just, we do need to let it out. And also we need to let all of our emotions out. It's like, it is normal to have a variety of emotions. It is
absolutely
okay. No one's happy all the time. You are sad, you are angry, you're frustrated. It's actually okay to, and it's healthy to identify with all of those emotions and actually just get in tune with them. And that's right. It's interesting how you were raised and I was raised. That's right. You shouldn't cry, or you should be brave, or suck it in kind of thing. Whereas it's completely ridiculous and also not healthy, because that's right. Since you're now, when you see what you're doing and what I do in my coaching, that's it. It's our vulnerability. It's our saying it as it is, sharing our own stories, the highs and the lows and the challenges, and our, and our advice. That actually is real woman, right? It's real life. And that's what people are desperate to be able to connect with people. Not that, and it's not a competition, and it's not as if they have to have the same story, and you hope they haven't most of the time.
Well, exactly.
Right? You just kind of go, but whatever it is, it's massive to that person. It's all, whatever your situation is, that's your truth, that's your what you're living with, and it is your 100%. And it's about having the ability to be able to relax into that and deal, and then be able to move on. You must feel so empowered now. You must feel so strong and confident. And you've mentioned you've gone through some waves, and you sort of, obviously sort of had to develop that. What have been the biggest challenges then of, for those people who have been a hard time, and they're currently sort of wavering? They kind of go, I have good days and then I fall back, and then I have good days and I fall back. What are the biggest challenges, and what's your advice there?
The biggest challenge of being happy, being up here, being, the happy-go-lucky woman, and then suddenly fall flat. And that was the challenge. Why was I falling flat? And the reason I was falling flat was I was doing the euphoria too much, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't realistic.
Yeah.
It wasn't realistic to be euphoric 24/7. That, that's not life. And like you said, having stress in your life is good, as long as it's healthy stress.
Yes.
And as long as it's, it's stress and anxiety that's keeping you up there in that anxious, heightened state, but it's stress and anxiety that you are in control of, and not the other way around, where the stress and the anxiety is in control of you. So we do, we need that. And we do need those down times. We do need those times when, things don't necessarily go the way you expect them to.
Yeah.
And, you kind of beat yourself up. And I still used to do that quite a lot. beat myself up terribly, because I used to think, but I've done it. And I'm, I'm going in the right direction, where I want to be, and I'm living the life that I'm loving it. Yeah, okay, I haven't got everything yet.
Yes.
That I want to achieve, and then something will happen and it'll knock me sideways. And at first, what I really used to go on huge downers, not kind of as far down as I was before,
Sure.
but I would say probably a normal downer, whatever normal is for people. And it wasn't until I started to reflect on those downs that I was putting too much pressure on myself.
Yes.
I was trying to achieve things. I always use the cake analogy, baking a cake analogy.
Yes.
Okay, you might laugh at me now, Annie. I'm going to tell you about my bake the cake analogy. But if you can imagine baking a cake, okay, you cannot do the method of a cake if you haven't got all the ingredients. Okay?
Yep.
So say you're going to make a cake and you're going to do what we call the creamy method. For any of those out there who don't know how to bake a cake, that means that you cream the butter and the sugar first. So if we're going to do the creaming method, okay, we won't put the flour in first. Because if we put the flour in the bowl first, we can't cream the milk, the butter and the sugar.
Yes.
Okay. We wouldn't put all the ingredients into the cake tin without going through the method. We wouldn't put the cake in the oven without putting the oven on.
Yeah.
So there are steps we need to take before we get to the cake. So the steps in life we need to take before we get to that thing that we want in life. But what I was trying to do was miss out a lot of the steps. And because I was missing out those steps, it became frustrating and it became too much of a mountain to climb.
Yes.
Because I was seeing it as a failure. Where actually it wasn't a failure at all. And that's when I would beat myself up and fall flat kind of thing. But it was because I was trying to get to the mountain before I put my hiking boots on. And sometimes what we do when we look too far into the future, we affect where we're living in the present because we're not there in the future yet. And that's what I kept doing. I kept living in the future. And yes, you can think about the future and what's in the future, but don't live in it.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying?
I totally understand.
Don't live your present life in that future because you can fall flat, because you'll miss steps out that you need to take to get that future you want. You can still visualize that future. You can still have it there created, but don't live it in your present. Because you'll stumble, you may stumble.
Yeah, well, you're very likely.
So it's about living in
the moment. I think you're very likely to stumble because when you're looking in the future, and that's it, it can be so exciting and you can want it so much, that's right, rush your cake, miss the steps. If you're looking from a fitness perspective, if you're going to go on a hike, you've got to do the practice, prep your legs, get your fitness right. You can't just get the glory. And when you're the actress and you go, but I'm, the queen of my show and I just want all these things to happen. Yes, that is possible in the future, but you have to do the steps in order, and you also have to practice them. You have to do the levels,
Absolutely.
So sometimes you learn to make that cake, and then suddenly, well, if you want to get to the next level, you're going to have to make a fancier cake, and it might have a few more steps. And so it can be frustrating because you go, well, I should be able to do this now. But, it's like, well, yes, but you don't want to stay where you are. You want to keep developing yourself, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And like you say, keep adding to the recipe.
Yeah.
Keep adding to the recipe. Keep adding to the script, because it never ends. It never ever ends. And, one of the biggest things I can also say to people is, because a lot of people do this, and that is never, ever compare yourself to anyone other than yourself. You may admire in somebody, okay? You may want that thing that you are admiring, but don't compare yourself to it. Just, ask yourself, what do I need to do? If that is having an effect on me, that thing that I admire, if it's having an effect on me, potentially it must already be in me for it to be able to have an effect on me. So it's already there. So what do I need to do to get it into my life? If I admire that and I want it in my life, what do I need to do to get it into my life? Not comparing it, admiring it, but comparing yourself to that person that you will never achieve it because you are not that person.
Exactly.
So by comparing yourself to, there are people on journeys, and we are on different journeys at different times. And those journeys, I can be 5 steps further on a journey than Annie. Okay, yeah. I'm just putting in. Okay, than Annie. So those 5 steps I can guide Annie with. But ahead of me is Dawn, who's 5 steps ahead of me. So Dawn can guide me in those 5 steps. And and then Annie will be 5 steps ahead of Susan behind her, so she can guide Susan. So we're always on a journey, and it's just where we want that journey to take us. And as soon as you stop comparing yourself to someone else, you will see the way to your own journey.
Yeah, beautiful revelation. Beautiful. So your business now is called Heart Act. Tell us about, how do people contact you? How do they reach out to Heart Act, and what do you have to offer them?
Okay. Heart Act, you can find me on Facebook. I've also got a Facebook page, which is the Heart Act Approach. You can find me on heartact.co.uk. I am building an actual brand new heartact.co.uk, but the old one is still there, and you can still find me on that. I'm on LinkedIn I think on LinkedIn I'm Debbie Debonaire. On Instagram I'm Heart Act Approach. So you can find me in several directions, several areas. On my website there is a link to get a free copy of the 9 pillars of emotional resilience. And that's free to download for anyone who feels it might help them. The Heart Act Approach is my 12-month signature process that takes you on a journey through where you are now to where you want to be, emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually. We look at all the areas of your life. We include the 9 pillars of emotional resilience. We look at how we can help you to self-regulate if you get stressed, if you get anxious, and that's a real challenge for you to come back down from. And it just takes you right through your journey, looking at all areas of your life. And I use varying different modalities dependent on where a person is when we first meet. I have a toolkit. I have my emotional resilience toolkit, as I call it, that we delve into during the journey.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And I love it that we are like passion sisters at opposite sides of the world, doing, similar things and having that same heart desire to, that's right, equip and help women who are on a journey. That's right, that we're just, those few steps ahead of and able to bless by the work that we do. And so everybody, I'll have the web links up on my podcast platform and also on YouTube. And I think we'll finish the program today, Debbie, by saying, this is a podcast called Memoirs of Successful Women. So what does success look like for you now? What is success?
Success for me is making a difference to as many women and men, but mainly women, as I possibly can. And that's success to me. How many people I can reach with my heart is success to me. Do 3 things: choose life, choose freedom, and most of all, choose you.
Beautiful. Oh my goodness, make me feel emotional. Exactly. Life. There's always better days. There are beautiful days. There are amazing days ahead. Exactly. Where you can be free and you can be empowered and you can be in control of your destiny, and that's right. And to do that, you have to be you. You have to just be you. No comparisons, no other, models of perfection or whatever. They're all taken. Do your own thing, be your own person, create your own stage show. I love your theatrical comments there. And that's right. And live life vibrantly. There's just, I think you are such a champion at communicating that on how beautiful and radiant you can be, and that there's always opportunity. That's what I've heard over this conversation today, that we can all look back and have moments where we go, I should have done this at 8, I should have done that at 12 or 16, and then I should have possibly made this other decision. And we can live in that, but it never is healthy. It's never helpful. It's good to learn from, but it's so wonderful that at any stage, that's right, you can turn your life around like you did and get those, go off and do an honours degree, be a beautiful mum, now be empowering women globally and surrounding yourself with intention to be, to be in a community of like-minded people who really, affirm you and your purpose and you them. And I think that's such a delight, and I'm so thrilled to meet you.
I am absolutely thrilled to meet you, Annie. You've inspired me from reading your book to getting to know you via Zoom, and it's been an absolute pleasure and an honor to meet you. It really has.
Thank you, Debbie. Well, we'll talk again soon. Thanks for coming on my program. Thanks so much for listening to this episode of Memoirs of Successful Women. You can find me at anniegibbins.com, where you can download my free resources, get connected on social, and check out my online magic transformation program. If you love this show, feel free to subscribe to future episodes, and of course, share it with your friends. I'll see you again soon, and until then, happy podcasting.